Hi, and welcome back to another episode on how to hack. So today we'll be exploring the use of unlocking an Android device without password. So what we can do is we can actually get a physical Android device that you have, or you could actually use a virtualization technology like Android Studio to boot up the Android virtual device. So in this case, in today's practical and tutorial, we'll actually explore an Android Studio that you can see over here. So over here, we got Android Studio running. So Android Studio is a platform for you to develop your APK files, your applications that can run on Android devices. And one great thing is that you can go on the tools under AVD Manager. And here we get all your virtual devices that you can actually run your APK files on. And of course, we can click on to create virtual device. And in this case, we can select, say, Pixel 3 XL. So you can have the pick of your different kind of hardware. So you got TV, you got phone, you got Wear OS, and so on. So for us, we'll select Pixel 3 XL. Click next on that. And here we can select the system image. So we have downloaded 3 system images. So we got Lollipop, Marshmallow, and Q. So we are going to use Android 10.0, Google APIs, and we'll click next on that. And here, of course, you can name your AVD name. So we will name it as Pixel 3 XL API 29. Click Finish, and we can see a new virtual device inside your Android device manager. So click onto the green arrow sign, and this would actually launch the AVD in the emulator. So click Go on that. And so once you click on it, this will start up the Android emulator. And at the same time, I want to open up Command Prompt. So once you got Android Studio running, you would also at the same time actually have your ADB running. So in this case, for example, if I enter ADB, this would actually show the help for ADB. So of course, what is ADB? ADB is an Android debug breach, and this is running on version 1.0.32. So it allows you to connect on the back end to your Android devices. So in this case, on the left side, I got the Android device. On the right side, I have my Android debug breach. So if you're not sure what is Android debug breach, we have done a tutorial on that before. So do check it out on the past few videos of that. So going back into the Android device, we can actually scroll down and we can actually look at the settings. And of course, in this case, if I click onto the power button, we can actually see that this would actually close off the display screen, and when we click on it again, this would open it up. So no password has been set. So all we got to do is actually go into the settings, and in the settings we can actually see that we have a option to actually change and secure the password. So this is actually under the setting of security. So you click on the security, and of course here we got the screen lock. So now it says none, so there are no screen lock, and we can lock it with any of these combinations. So we'll use password, and when we click on password, we can enter, say, 1234, click next on that, 1234, confirm on that. So this will lock up the Android device, and we can actually select don't show notifications at all. So click done. So once you're done with it, and when you click the power button, this would actually lock up the screen, including turning off the display. So if I click onto the power button again and I try to open it up, and now I'm prompted for a password. So the scenario goes like this, the situation goes like this. Perhaps you do not have the password, or you forgot your password and you want to reset the password inside the device. So in this case, the best way out for us is actually to be able to use the Android debug breach to help us gain access back end to the Android device and be able to change and update the settings inside the mobile device, helping us ultimately gain access into the device again. So the first thing we want to do is actually enter ADB devices, and this would actually show us all the devices that are connected onto the breach. So in this case, we got emulator-5554. So what we will do next is actually to go into the system. So all you gotta do is enter ADB shell, and this would bring us into the device. So all I gotta do is enter who am I, and it says that we are shell. It states that we are shell. We're working with the Android device as a shell. So of course we can enter SU. So SU would give us super user power and privileges. So hit enter on that, and now when I enter who am I, it says that we are root. So we are the super user. We have a lot of privileges and permissions, and we can control the Android device very quickly. So the next thing we really want to do is to go into data, and then we'll cd into system. And once we're in system, we can enter ls. So the most important part for this tutorial is actually to look at this particular file called logsettings.db. So they actually store all this configuration and information inside logsettings.db. So the only way for us to open this up is to enter SQL like tree and hit enter on that. So of course we can enter .open followed by the file name, and of course log settings.db, hit enter on that. So now we're accessing and manipulating and changing the data inside log settings.db. So SQL like tree is a way for us to actually structure data inside a mobile device, and it is very useful because it is very similar to how you would actually store data inside your Microsoft SQL, your MySQL, and so on, and all those database management systems. So in this case, we're using it for Android device, so that's great. So the commands, the syntaxes, the queries are all very similar to how you would actually look and use the Microsoft SQL or SQL statements. So the next thing we want to do is to enter .help. So if you're not familiar with SQL like tree, enter .help and it will show you the commands that you can use, find out table information, update table, and so on. So very useful way of controlling the database details. So what we'll do is right now we can enter .tables to see all the tables inside the database. So here we got two tables, so Android metadata and log settings. So we are more concerned today about log settings. So in future tutorials, we'll look at how we could actually control SQL like tree, look at how we can manage the data and details and information inside SQLite. So of course in today's tutorial, we'll look at log settings. So the next thing we can do is select or from log settings followed by semicolon to pull out the data from log settings. So go ahead and hit enter on that. And of course now you see the commands, the queries are very similar to your SQL statements. So in this case we can see lock screen disabled is true, and we can see lock screen password type alternate, and of course we can also see lock screen password type. So all these are some of the key points that we'll be changing and updating in order for us to be able to remove the lock screen inside the Android device. So of course the next thing we want to do is enter update followed by log settings, and once we got that we can enter set value and we'll set it to 1. So this would actually set the particular column or the particular row of the lock screen.disable, and where name equal lock screen dot disable, and of course we can put a semicolon at the end to end the query or the statement. So hit enter on that and this would update the log settings value for lock screen dot disable. So of course on the top you can see that our previous query shows that it was a 1, and of course now we have updated to true. That means the lock screen is disabled. Then the next thing we want to do is to update the log settings set value equals 0, and we set it to 0. And the next thing we want to do is where name equal lock screen dot password underscore type, and we can put a hyphen as well as a semicolon or a single quote. I mean a single quote and a semicolon, and hit enter on that. So that would update the table again. And then last one that we want to do is to actually update log settings set value equals 0, where name equal, and of course in this case we're going to set it as lock screen dot password followed by underscore type underscore alternate, and then we put a single quote as well as semicolon on that and hit enter. So this would update all of those rows that we see inside the table when we pull a query on it. So if you go ahead and enter select or from log settings again and you hit enter on that, so this would again see the changes and update to lock screen.disable, lock screen.password type alternate, as well as the use of the lock screen password type. So all this has been disabled right now. So all we got to do is enter .quit or exit. And then of course after that we can actually exit from the system, and we can exit again from the system. So of course over here all we got to do is actually reset the computer or reset the phone, and once we restart the phone it would actually restart without a lock screen, and immediately we can gain access into the system very quickly. So once it restarts, all of this has been disabled and immediately we gain access into the mobile device. So right now we are restarting the Android device, so it can take a while. So once it restarts we can actually gain direct access into the Android device. Okay, so right here, we see that pixel is starting. And all you got to do is actually pull down. And you see that we actually can go under settings. And under settings, we can actually go back into the security. So in security, we can click on it. And we can see that the screen lock is now none. That means we have actually removed the screen lock capability inside the Android device. And we'll be able to perform all sorts of actions into the Android device very quickly. So once again, I hope you learned something valuable in today's tutorial. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And I'll try my best to answer any of those questions. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you can be kept abreast of the latest cybersecurity tutorial. Thank you so much once again for watching.